Good morning to all of you. It's an immense pleasure to have been invited to share a few thoughts and reflections with such an admirable group of experts and experienced people in the area of energy production, energy consumption, and energy considerations around the world. I thank the organizers for such an incredible opportunity. Of course, there are, Mr. Srivastava, Mr. Aginoti, Alok Perti, Anil Razdan, who's been organizing these World PetroCoal Congresses, and the international guests, and our friend from the Petroleum Ministry, Secretary Mr. K.D. Tripathi, and everybody from the Indian government, the different ministries, coal, petroleum, and power. Students from the UPS University and other energy institutions of academic nature. We would like, from Venezuela, of course, India and Venezuela, we have been building a partnership. We have been building an association of strategic meaning, because we are there, as we have always stated, to make sure that the needs for India's future, the energy needs for India's development, the energy needs for India's society, be it industrial, commercial, development in general. And that goes, of course, through the taking into consideration of every aspect of Indian life. We are going to be there, as we are now, producing oil with India in the largest oil reserve in the world, which is the Hugo Chavez Orinoco oil belt. We are exploring together, we are producing together, we are transporting energy, and that energy arrives here in India and goes to be processed, refined in Indian refineries, one of which, by the way, is, of course, as most of us know, the largest refinery in the world. Venezuela is, or has, the second largest refinery in the world nowadays. And that makes the whole association, as we call it in geostrategic terms, an objective, an economic objective, even a military objective. And situations like that cannot escape the analysis of countries, governments, agencies, international agencies, and private companies. We are all immersed in the geostrategy of carbon, oil, and gas. Where is it going to come from? Where is it going to go? Who is going to control it? Who will provide the means for instability or stability? We think that India needs, like Venezuela, a stable, a tendency towards a stable energy complex world. Stability is a word that we all need in order to be able to plan ahead, to be strategic, in order to look at the horizon and see if India, within the next decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, is going to cope with society's demand of energy. The government, industry, private, state will have to cope with some way of actually using strategy or strategic instruments. What are the strategic instruments? The most important strategic instruments, of course, information. Information. We need information in order to create a stability in the oil industry so that we can see on the horizon how we are going to cope with, and precisely that is the objective, or one of the objectives of this very important get-together, this very important Congress, and that is management of the future energy mix for India, for the world, for the regions. In Venezuela, we're coping with that using and creating the concept of energy for cooperation, which goes through market, meaning market stability, market concept, market technology, and a reasonable geostrategic stability. And that is called, we call it, of course, the diplomacy of peace. How can we guarantee, as we have done and as we will continue doing, how can we guarantee India that the oil need, the energy needs for India will be there at India's doorsteps? We have been doing so by contributing with world market stability. And in this case, it has been already mentioned several times, oil price stability. Who controls oil price stability? Who benefits from oil price instability? Believe it or not, as we all know, yes, there are those who do benefit from oil price instability, and others suffer from oil price instability. For example, India, our close, very close partner in energy, in the management of the future energy mix. And here the organizers use another term, another phrase. They say industry with focus on synergy for energy management. These are terms that bring in the concept of teamwork. You cannot manage if you're not part of a team. You cannot create synergy if you're not part of a team. We want to create teams around the world for energy market stability, for oil price stability, for countries like India, the third largest energy consumer, who will continue doing so for the decades to come. We're going to be there creating the technology, creating the political environment, the economic environment, and the institutional environment for that to happen, together with OPEC and non-OPEC countries. And so when we look at the energy mix of India, we see that oil will continue to be, or being, an unescapable source of energy. It has been described, it has been technically quite well essentially described, and all the charts in this excellent information package that EMPI Business School has provided, we can see it, how it will continue being so. And therefore, if we want to bring management teams, synergy teams, to create stability for oil prices, then India can see that we are contributing as a country. Venezuela, we are contributing, as President Maduro has put it recently. We are bringing together on a table, negotiating table, OPEC and non-OPEC countries. And the price of oil has been steadily coming up. Why? Because India, as an essential buyer of oil, essential but not only buyer, we all know that India produces oil, and India should continue in that trend of getting everywhere it can guarantee the income, the input, the inflow of oil, and Venezuela will continue supporting that arena. And so, as a producer of oil, India needs stability in oil prices. As a buyer of oil, India needs stability of oil prices. We have put together people from oil-producing countries, from the OPEC countries, to come sit together and say, yes, we cannot continue in this, it's really anachronic and crazy world of just a war against everybody. Because it's not exactly a war against everybody. Because the main, for example, Russia, Iran, and Venezuela, they are hit tremendously by the drop in oil prices. And there are those who benefit by that. But also India suffers because of that, because India then cannot, and it's very hard for technology to increase, for exploration and production technology and activities to increase if the price of oil is at that level, because of course there will not be any motivation to increase that and to increase the level of production and exploration. And as we have already heard several times, internationally, every country is trying to cope, is trying to produce energy answers for energy needs in a population that needs to have access to energy resources, to energy industrialization. But then the question of sustainability comes in. Who wants to make energy industry and energy progress and energy consumption sustainable? There are those who do. There are others who don't. For example, everybody last year in December in France, everybody agreed that it was civilized and that it was democratic and that it was sensible, logical, and human to think about the environment and to come together in terms that can put everybody together to contribute with global energy conservation through sustainable processes of production and consumption in energy. Everybody thought that that was the case. That was the honorable thing to think. And that was also the effective way to go ahead. Look what's happening recently. What's happening recently is that now we have news the world around coming from international news agencies saying that there is a person who thinks that energy sustainability, energy conservation, pollution, the massacre of world environmental concepts no longer is a problem or a matter. So then we have to think, well, what is civilization then about? The world has progressed all these years, and we have all this information about physics, about geology, about world biosphere, about atmosphere, about polluting communities and polluting lives of millions and millions and millions, and that suddenly doesn't matter at all because somebody says, it doesn't matter at all because I want to develop my industry. Then, what about India's effort in France's last year International Energy Environment Forum? Energy made a great effort there. India made a great effort there to precisely preserve the leadership, the international leadership, to create balances around the world, to create multipolar world, which is the only possibility of creating stability in industry, in governments, in markets. The only way of creating stability is by actually getting together in teams to manage synergy and to manage the future energy mix. But we have seen that there are challenges. There are challenges to that, and I think, and we think certainly that India should continue creating the concept of multipolarity, and we will continue driving on that track of multipolarity. And we think that the future of technology, research and development, India's strategic plans of becoming and keeping there as a major world economy, known as one of the largest or the largest fastest growing economy in the world. The only way to do that is by contributing in the creation of stability in market, in oil market prices, in energy consumption, and in energy reconnaissance of future. So we will be there as a country. We are standing right now a lot of hostility and a lot of aggressions because we believe in United Nations principles of non-intervention, and we believe in Venezuela and in our diplomacy of peace that everybody around the world, every country, as it's stated in United Nations principles, has the right to self-determination and has the right to become an independent country in the international global orchestra for development. And therefore the concept that we using of oil for cooperation and not for domination, that is destructive domination, because the great thing is for industry, everybody in industry, in market, tries to be the one that has a control of a certain domain. That is great. But that is the virtual, the positive way of dominating. But the destructive way of domination, then oil shouldn't be there to be used as such. We are for oil stability. We are for the stability of oil prices. We have got together the people of the OPEC and the non-OPEC countries, and now India can certainly, with ONGC, with Oil India producing and exploring, we can be there upstream, midstream, downstream, together, helping all of the regions of the world to achieve some kind of balance. We are for that, and we think that the only way to answer the questions that this Congress has put forward is to take into consideration the important, the relevant, and the responsible positions several countries in the world, of the producing world and of the consuming world, are putting together for a multipolar and for a teamwork, a cooperative, a cooperation world in the energy management, in the management of the for future energy mix. Thank you very much.